So let's move on to topic two. Let's talk some movies. Let's talk about a little franchise you guys might know as the Pirates of the Caribbean. What? Yeah, that throwback movie. So, Lady and I decided, hey, we're bored. Let's watch some movies last weekend, as of recording, and to um, we decided to watch Pirates 1, 2, and 3, aka the good, the great, the pretty good. The good three. We're not going to 4. Last I recall seeing 4 in theaters, it was, and I haven't tried 5 yet, so I honestly can't give an opinion there. But we decided to watch 1, 2, 3, revisit that, so I just kind of wanted to gush about it for a few minutes, kind of talk about the memories, what we thought about it overall, and just the fun experience. And I guess I'll just start right there. Overall, 1, 2, 3, a very fun experience. They have a good through point story with 1, 2, and 3 with, the Curse of the Black Pearl and the Aztec Gold going into Davy Jones' locker and Jack Sparrow's debt into his redemption coming back and the whole pirate war against the East India Trading Company. Perfect, maybe not perfect, but a really great arc of story between these 3 films, a lot of connective tissue between these 3 films, and just a fun ride overall. And, it's one of those things where across these movies, in rewatching them so many times, it almost seems like every time I watch them, I get a little bit more and more from the story each time that I kind of experience them. And I remember as a kid when these movies came out, something I watched with my parents, like we seemed really all invested into the story, trying to figure out before the next one came out, like, what's this character? What's their motivation? Oh, is this an Easter egg to that? Is that a tease for that? This thing, like, there's things, breadcrumbs and other trails that they kind of leave throughout the films that are connective tissue to the rest of the story. And it's a lot of fun when you notice those things. And it's just props to those, creators, directors, producers, actors, whoever had their hands in that project, because the story is deep and the world building is deep. And with these things hidden in there and strewn about, it's just more rewarding as a fan of like an experience overall, and you get more out of the story and you have the fun theory talks and everything. It's like the MCU before the MCU, except it was the pirates. Like, it's just a lot of fun. And whether it was, once again, these breadcrumbs that were amongst the films and kind of hidden in plain sight, or from my understanding, a couple of the first movies to have post-credit sequences to tease upcoming things in the next one, even if it was small. Very fun, very rewarding. A perfect example is the whole Barbossa revival thing. Obviously in the first movie, he perishes after the Aztec curse. Jack shoots him, and by the end of movie 2, he has been resurrected by Tia Dama to then help get Jack Sparrow back in the third one. So his resurrection is teased like in the first third of the second movie. We have the undead monkey Jack, which you don't even know the monkey is still undead unless you saw the first post-credits at the end of the first movie. And the monkey is given to Tia Dama as a gift. The monkey then runs out of the cage and runs into a side room and runs to an object and holds it, and he's kind of like concerned. And if you look, it's a fucking boot, and they show it twice. The first time is kind of very quick glimpse. The second shot, when she goes back there to get the jar of dirt, like they linger on the monkey, and it, like you can clearly see it's a pair of boots. The monkey knows it's Barbossa. He's right there. I don't know if he was fully revived at that time or resurrected, but like they put it right in front of your eyes that, oh, something's here. And when he gets the reveal at the end, like if you didn't notice it, obviously it's that big moment of like, what the fuck? Why are you alive? Very cool thing there that obviously if you get those little breadcrumbs along the way is rewarding. But then also something I picked up on this time is the reason why Tiadama brought Barbossa back. And I know this could have been very apparent to anyone who watched it the first time. Maybe it's just because I was a kid when I watched these films. It didn't really resonate with me. So the whole plot of the third movie, or at least a part of the plot of the third movie, is pirate war. Pirates versus the East India Trading Company to get the freedom back, right? And the whole thing is the pirate lords, the 8 pieces of 9 or 9 pieces of 8, whatever it is, we're getting the pirates together and they're going to band together and they're going to go against those guys. The whole reason that Tiadama brings back Barbossa is not for Jack. Well, actually it is for Jack, but it's kind of like a chain. She brings back Barbossa to bring back Jack, which both of them are pirate lords in this meeting, and she needs all the pirate lords and their little junk to free her from her human bond and jail to become Callisto, to be free again herself. In the third movie, it is the biggest mindfuck of the century because everyone is out for their own fucking self. And there's so many backstabs, crosses, hoodwinks, shenanigans from everybody. I'm doing this for you, for this, against you, to do this, to shove it up your ass, to It's just like, what's going on? Everybody's lying to each other. Everybody's got their own fucking goals and things that they're doing. And at times, it's just like, my God, can we please be all on the same page for 1 second? But yeah, very interesting once you get to that third movie to see all the different motivations and tracks that are going on as they're just constantly stepping over each other, trying to be the top person. So Tiadama's was one I picked up on in this movie of like, oh, okay, now I understand what is fully happening here of that. And then speaking of breadcrumbs and Tiadama, obviously by the third movie, we know that her and Davy Jones were the lovers. But they plant that in the second movie too with the lockets. And I think Papa Griff noticed this ages ago when we watched it for the first time. He's like, oh, they're the ones in love. Me, never noticed that. At least for the longest time of like, what? Very similar lockets, the same song, just teasing it back and forth between the two. Just like one of those things, if you weren't paying attention, totally miss it. A small thing, very small thing, that I had noticed from the first movie into the second movie this time for the first time is in the second movie, in the first movie, the whole motivation or the storyline is the Aztec gold and it's cursed. You take coins out of it, you become undead, you can't feel anything, and the only way the curse is broken is return the coin with your blood into the thing. Everyone who took a piece, then you're good to go. In the second movie, we see that Jack has the Black Pearl, has a new crew. Crew's not happy after his little adventure into this castle-esque structure with the dead bodies being taken care of. He gets the whole drawing of the key, right? And the crew's not happy. They're like, oh, we don't have anything shiny and we're not getting rewarded for this. It's not profitable. And I never picked up on it, but in that dialogue, they mention that the Isla de Morta, where the Aztec gold was, where in the first movie, also something I picked up on this time, they were stockpiling gold. Barbossa's crew were stockpiling gold for 10 years to then have like a big blowout birthday bash celebration when they finally got the curse lifted and they'd be rich men. In the second movie, they mention that the island where the Aztec gold is and all of this gold that they had built up flooded. They lost everything. All that gold, the curse stuff, it flooded due to a hurricane or typhoon. I don't remember. All of it's gone. So that's why they're in such a shitty place in the second movie, is because all the riches, nowhere to be found. So that's kind of creates the animosity between the crew and our OG crew that we met in the first movie, and leads to the whole Cannibal Island thing of why they're competing against each other. Just a fun little thing that I picked up on this time. I don't know confirmation wise if there's a whole backstory with the Cannibal Island and Jack and his dad, Captain Teague, and the mom, who we see as a shrunken head, and then the dog who shows up at the very end of the pirate meeting because the dog was trapped on the island with the cannibals and was their next god in that second movie's post-credits. I don't know if there's a whole lore there. It's kind of alluded to. Maybe that's why they thought Jack was a god, because they thought his dad was there previously and was a god. It's a whole tunnel of thoughts there. I'm sure there's articles you could read about it, but they allude to it. We'll have to see, I guess. Not that it really matters, if that is anything. Yeah, where's the rest of the crew? The cages were built after we arrived. Like, there must have been a lot of people on that boat, Rainbow. Like, that they had enough bones to make 2 cages, and then they still had people in each of the cages to escape. But interesting sequence there. Some characters, obviously, that we see throughout the whole time, which I do appreciate. Even minimal roles, I do appreciate that we get to see follow-up from them. You have the 2 British guards that are protecting the Interceptor when Jack kind of fools them to get onto the ship. You don't see them in the second movie, but they do get a return in the third movie to eventually become pirates afterwards. They're a funny crew. We had, speaking of crew, we had the initial, Jack Sparrow crew with Mr. Gibbs and Mr. Cotton and his parrot and the shorter gentleman, which I don't recall his character's name. You get those 3. You get Barbossa's 2 guys, the one with the eye and his friend. I'm sorry, I'm terrible with character names. I probably should have pulled up an article. But those 2, you get to see this whole crew throughout their journey there, and they stay consistent. A little unfortunate that you didn't get Zoe Saldana's character, but I guess that makes sense that Jack owed her a ship, so she would have gone on her own adventures. But nonetheless, it would have been cool to see her come back maybe at the end for the Pirate War or whatever. Obviously, Barbossa staying all the way through. I know he continues in his journeys in at least 4, and we continue a little bit of his story arc, but as I said, we're not going to talk about 4 all that much, as it was a downer when I first watched it, and I haven't rewatched it since. And then, the governor, his journey. There was, what's his name? Oh, crud. The Commodore. Norrington, we see his journey from top of the mountain to the bottom of the barrel back to at least some sort of military, and then some redemption for him. Will and Elizabeth's journey. Just very cool throughout the whole, like I said, world building, keeping those characters around, giving them development and progression there. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that stands out from those films that I wanted to talk about. No, I think that's it. Just, it's a great time, all 3 films, and I think obviously they had a great plan for the trilogy. Obviously, 1 compared to 2 and 3, while there's the connective tissue, 1 is still a little separate from 2 and 3, whether you don't have Beckett in there, you don't have Davy Jones in there quite yet. So on its own, 1 stands alone, and then 2 and 3 more are this mesh together or flow a little bit better. But overall, this trilogy is really, really good, and it was a fun rewatch. It's a series that has a good story overall, can get hokey at times. There's plenty of moments in the series that, you just have to chuckle at. Obviously, the second movie, with the whole, going back to the cannibals, the cages rolling around and dropping off these high heights, whether it's Jack in his, pole vaulting across things, down a cavern, falling through 3 bridges to the ground, somehow surviving. You have Norrington, Will, and Jack fighting on the big water wheel and balancing and all that. Like, it gets hokey, it gets ridiculous, but it's entertaining there. You in the first movie when Will's saving Jack, like, man's got a poofy ass hat, looks fancy AF, but then proceeds to save Jack. Does a front flip for style, keeps his hat on. Does a dive roll for style with Jack, keeps his hat on. Like, all for the gag of Jack just to go, nice hat. Like, it's just like, it's stupidity, but it's entertaining and it's a good time there. And there's a couple moments in 3 that I'm sure they keep on that same page, but fun franchise overall. Like I said, kind of dips down after the 3rd one, so I think maybe they should have kept it at 3, but I get it. Money. A fun time. Definitely worth a rewatch. I don't feel like it ages terribly. I would say the CG, honestly, still holds up. Like, whether it's the zombies or the pirate crew in the first movie, or obviously, you know, Davy Jones and his crew, I think they all look fantastic. Yeah, just solid 3 movies. Had a lot of fun rewatching them. And yeah, just a blast. So yeah, I wanted to gush about those a little bit and about my experience.